that's another subject that, education. We have to talk about this because 90% of what you learn you're never going to use, and you're just wasting your time and your hard drive here. So, and that's another project that we have about the solution for education to change this whole thing. But anyways, I agree with you, and I think that if we open, and again, as I said, I'm heterosexual, he and him, my pronouns, and I think you too.
Yes.
And but we respect, I mean, if you're gay, if you're transgender, if you are, we both have great, working in the arts. We have great friends, and we respect your right to be or do whatever you want.
Yeah, we should have clarified this so people listening got to this first. But yeah. I mean, the whole point of this critical thinker is to make sure that we're thinking through it. So
Yes.
we have certain opinions and will that might disagree with you, and we sure hope we do, so that disagree with you in certain ways, whether it be religion, politics, our worldview, or whatever, so that these conversations can be sparked. Because at the end of the day, we want to be in the room with people that differ from us on everything,
And also, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I speak for myself. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm open to change my mind if I have enough good arguments and facts. I'm willing to change my mind. I evolve. I think that's the purpose of having an intellect, is to evolve. So you can, if we're saying something that you don't agree, we are debating in a civil way, in a very respectful way, and we can talk about it. That's our goal, is make you reach your opinion using your own opinion, using your own method. And the same with us. We can change our minds. But what I was saying about transgenders and people like that, the problem is when you create this many pronouns, there's no end.
Right.
Now you don't have like they, them, they. You have like clown, whatever. It's endless.
Right.
And it's like cultural appropriation. For example, if we cannot wear, for example, like Asian clothes, for example, I'm a master of martial arts. If I cannot wear the uniform that of my martial arts are Japanese, so is it cultural appropriation that I'm wearing the uniform from the martial art that I trained 45 years? Well, I don't think so. But that means that also the Japanese cannot wear Western clothes, and then the natives cannot wear. It's endless. You cannot. It's an endless problem, and that's, in my opinion, that's the problem. You create a bottomless hole.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. Every house in America is made wooden framed house, right? Framed house. We frame our houses. That's German. Correct me if I'm wrong. So what? I mean, you can't live in a house unless you're German? That's ridiculous.
I have some DNA. We have to. I was talking to Kristen the other day. I said, well, because I have some Jewish DNA, 3% of Ashkenazi, and then I said, what's the actual percentage that allows me to make jokes? I have an amount of Italian. What's the amount I can make jokes with Italian? What amount I can? Well, it has to be a minimum.
I have an autistic sister and a lesbian sister, so I feel like I have a lot of freedom here.
A lot of freedom.
I have an Asian adopted sister, so
there you go.
I have free range.
Yeah, and that's the point. I think that we talked about that the other day too. Like I think we both believe that God gave us something called free will.
Yeah.
And there's no human, not the Pope, not any patriarch, not any leader, pastor or whomever, or imam or rabbi or guru that can actually revoke that from you. We all have free will. And that's the thing.
Well, and the ability to, like I mentioned earlier, I believe the ability to self-govern, or the freedom to, like the autonomy of man, like as individuals. And we believe, I believe adamantly in people's own right to come to their own conclusions.
Absolutely.
And to have their own opinions on that. And we should be coming to those conclusions with logic and I will fight to the death.
Facts.
You know,
Not emotions.
Right, for someone else's right to disagree with me.
That's a new one. I didn't use this one.
That's kind of weird. It's like children's.
Cheering. That's us cheering.
Yeah. But like, I will fight to the death for someone else's right to be able to have the autonomy to make their own decisions. But also fight to the death for them to not impose those opinions or beliefs upon me, but to be able to debate me with logic on those, you know?
And in my opinion, that's one of the main causes of conflict in our world today, is because people are, and that goes from the dinner table to global wars, is people trying to impose their own truth on other people.
Yeah.
That's the main problem. If we can respect ourselves, and we disagree, you guys will see, we disagree in a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But we respect each other. We want to grow, and we want to learn, and we want to take our disagreement and make it something that is profitable for both of our minds.
Well, and let me bring up a contrast here. What's the difference? You know, you had the periods of time where you had, you know, Christians, and I am a Christian, where the Christians proselytized to the death people that didn't convert to their religion, versus what's the difference between that and now being canceled on social media platforms for not agreeing with the current narrative on a certain thing, like you know, transgenders' rights to play on the sport that they identify with.
Oh my God!
But like, without getting into that subject,
we can go there. We have to go there eventually.
Eventually, but like, you know, you get canceled because you don't agree with that opinion. Versus, what's the difference between that and saying, okay, you're canceled for not, you know, the Salem witch trials, you know, like obviously they're killing people there, but you're canceled or ostracized from society for not having the same religion. It's exactly the same. Ostracizing someone, the death, we haven't gotten there, where like people are being killed for this, but like ostracizing people for not having the same religious beliefs is the same as ostracizing someone for not having the same beliefs on, you know, gender.
I posted the other day, I said, well, I'm against prejudice. Mm-hmm. I'm against, you know, treating other people in a not civil way. I think we should respect everyone. I don't care your race. I don't care your gender. I don't care your pronoun. We should all be civil to each other. We should all. I'm also a Christian. I studied a lot of Buddhism, but I'm also a Christian, Catholic, and I believe Jesus said, "Love thy neighbor." That's the most important thing, in my opinion, about Christianity. That's my opinion. But I think the problem we have today is we have to choose if we are having freedom of speech or not. Because, you know, I don't care how ridiculous is your idea. If we have freedom of speech, you should be allowed to say it. I don't care how radical it's your idea, you should be allowed to say it. Otherwise, it's not freedom of speech. It's a selective freedom. It's like only the things that we think, you should be okay with that. So this cancellation thing, okay, if we say, okay, we have to live under those ideas, we cannot talk about this or that, then it's fine. Then we don't have freedom of speech. But we cannot say it's an antinomy. We cannot have both existing at the same time.
You know, obviously throughout history, things change, you know, and we have, you know, the commonplace of, you know, like general consensus on how a society is and a culture are going to function change, and there are growing pains in that changing. However, I think there needs to be clarity, you know, there needs to be clarity on, here are the parameters. And a big frustration, I'll give you an example. I was working on a set, you know, where we had one of the actors was, you know, frustrated with something happening on set and wanted to leave the set, but was like kind of wrestling with that. And as they were deciding how they were going to handle this, they kept changing the parameters and the barometer of what needed to take place on set for them to stay on the set, which was understandable considering the situation, but it was frustrating for the director to not have the clarity of this is what's happening. This is what needs to happen for us to move forward. And so I think you need that clarity, and that's how I encourage this actor. Like, we just need to have clarity. If like here's the parameters of what needs to happen for us to move forward, or I'm walking. And we had the same situation with the director, or not the director, the writer. He was not clear on. He should have been like, okay, you need this changed. We're done with you. We're going to recast, or fine, we're willing to do that and move forward. Instead, he was waffling back and forth, and I feel like we're having similar situation in our society where people are not drawing clear lines in the sand of like, okay, this is how it needs to be, and I'm moving forward. Instead, it's like the bar keeps changing, and it's hard to keep up with a bar that's constantly changing, whereas like you can't keep up moment by moment with even knowing where we are. What's okay? What's acceptable? Okay, is this acceptable now? I'm not sure. Am I allowed to use these words now? What was acceptable 5 minutes ago is no longer acceptable